Let's watch this.
Yeah, I think with Pac-Man and Ethan, it would be a discussion more than almost a debate.
Yeah, I mean, I've debated Destiny on I think he was he went
Rittenhouse.
He was mad that I was critical of calling Kyle Rittenhouse a killer, even though like Kyle Rittenhouse is a killer. That is not a controversial statement.
That is a Destiny.
Oh my God, fuck me, dude. I'm trying to not let like Tim Pool rewrite my view of Sam Seder, because he told me a lot of bad shit about him too. Apparently, a lot of people have a lot of bad thoughts about Sam. But I don't know if this is true. Maybe it's just people on the right are just ass mad about Sam because he's a decent debater. Is that really his takeaway from our conversation? He just thought I was mad because he said Rittenhouse killed people? Like, who denies that? Obviously, he killed people. What is he? Why would he summarize our conversation that way? What?
He was mad that I was critical of calling Kyle Rittenhouse a killer, even though like Kyle Rittenhouse is a killer. That is not a controversial statement. When you kill somebody, you're a killer. Now, I didn't say that he murdered anybody because he was not found. That's a legal term, and he was not found to have.
Murder is not just a legal term; it's a moralistic one as well. Murdering is generally the unjustified killing of somebody. You don't believe that Rittenhouse was justified in killing those people, you would call him a murderer. Maybe he didn't use the word murder or not, but like, what a weird semantic point to argue on. Obviously, our disagreement wasn't on whether or not Rittenhouse was a killer or not. It had to do with whether or not he was justified in his actions, or whether we thought it was self-defense.
Committed murder.
Did he call Rittenhouse a murderer? I'm curious when he has a clip of that. I'm so curious if he did or not.
That's so weird. Yeah, anybody who's trying to be like honest at all with themselves or honest at all with Rittenhouse, like, he's not a murderer, obviously. Like, they're not a killer even. Like, it was self-defense. And yeah, it's self-defense in a bad situation. Don't get me wrong, like, he shouldn't have been there, but it is so bad faith in any way to frame him like he's a bad person.
I'm not sure.
It's a killer, and I didn't.
Like what? Yeah, like what does Sam think the debate was? I was arguing that they survived. Like, does he think that we debated on like? I think that the two people that were declared dead by Rittenhouse, I think they're in Argentina somewhere with all the Nazis. I think they got shipped. I think they're not dead. Like, what?
And I found the circumstances in which he killed to be illegitimate.
That's what our discussion was about. Yes. Thank you. I've got the thread. Thank you. That's what our discussion was about, was whether it was legitimate or not.
The thing that annoyed me about Destiny, really, honestly, was how he was convinced that if I would have condoned his actions, Kyle Rittenhouse, if he was black, and which I found to be, sort of ill-founded.
You're saying that in the most appropriate way possible as to what Destiny actually.
Oh yeah, well no, he said I would be very enthusiastically, extremely enthusiastic.
Oh my God, he's still mad about the buckets of cum. And I think
so
was my
funny.
final point, that if you were to, I hate to pull the conservative one here, if you were to reverse the races here, I think that all of the coverage on the left would have been far different. If it was a black person that shot 3 white people that were marching through an all black community setting fire to it, I think everybody would have been on their high horses defending his right to be in that community and defend their property from like white supremacists going through and marching through and burning stuff down.
Okay, so you have a problem with me saying Skittles because that's, I guess, hyperbole.
No, it's not. It's the downplaying constantly of like the damage the writing was causing and then making him seem like a Hitler guy. Yeah.
Look, first off, when that guy IM'd me in that video, it was in response to this guy's conservative media tour. Okay? Now, like, I am not responsible for the nameless people that you're telling me have spread misinformation. Like I said, I don't watch other shows. I'm responsible for what I do. Now, you, in response, and again, I only know this because somebody just sent this to me a day ago. You said that I would be guzzling buckets of his cum if he was black and they were white.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so now, aside from, the issue of whether I would guzzle buckets of cum in any scenario.
He's so mad.
You're creating a straw man. And listen, because first off, I've been doing this for 18 years. And if there has never been a situation where this has taken place, the reverse scenario you're talking about, that may be instructive. But you would never find me ever celebrating, and particularly a guy who's celebrating the killing of anybody, ever. And
Well,
then
it's not
the
about
idea
celebrating the
that,
killing
wait a
of
second,
his- yeah.
excuse me, you said I would be guzzling buckets of his cum. That I'm assuming is your way of
So-
saying I'd
oh
be
my God.
celebrating that person, right?
Not celebrating, but I think
so
there'd be-
excited that I would be guzzling buckets of their cum.
I think that
I would
the-
let them jack off in my mouth because I'm so excited about what they did. And I'm telling you, I've never done that. I've never celebrated anybody killing anybody in any scenario whatsoever. I've been doing this for 18 years, 3 hours a day. If it was out there, you'd know it. So you're the one who's actually doing what you accused me of doing. I didn't do it. You and I have a different opinion as to why this guy went there, okay? We'll never know. This is a guy who's a fan of John Doyle, who is also like a white nationalist. We know this. But I still do not have any out there claiming I have some knowledge about his intent. I said he went down there to protect property, which is what he claimed he did. That is a very generous. I'm being perfectly, I'm letting him set the terms.
Yeah, but he can be wherever
he went down there with a gun.
This is America.
And people got shot.
That's the biggest
I
thing.
think it's a bad example for society. I think it sets a bad precedent. I'm surprised there isn't any type of civil action
Yeah,
you
but
can
just 'cause it's
take
a
on a
bad
wrongful
precedent doesn't
death.
mean it's
I think
not
it's
like
vigilantism, regardless of
It's
who
not- it
performs it,
doesn't-
is wrong. And then I think using that to build your fame is fucking gross. And so I think the guy's an asshole. And so, that's all I've said on these videos. And you've gone on to say like that a hypothetical situation where I'd be so excited, I'd be jizzling, sucking people's cum because of it. And it's like, you're doing exactly
I don't know. I
Okay,
think it's so
so-
vulgar.
what straw man me for doing.
Okay, give me a second then. Okay, so I'm not straw manning you. So these are quotes that I've written down from your video. So one was, you said he killed 2 people with a gun because he killed people in a neighboring town, which is technically true in the same way that white people are becoming a minority in the United States. But I wouldn't let a conservative get away with that latter statement because it's obvious what they're implying, same as the former of what you're implying.
And frankly, a lot of his audience are, sort of like,
Illiterate.
What?
pubescent boys, and I was a pubescent boy, and I would have found that to be a good argument in the way that he phrased it. When you get to be a grown up, you realize like the idea that I would support someone who goes on a killing rampage to protect property.
He didn't go on a killing rampage, and it wasn't protecting property. It was self-defense.
That's like what? That's
right?
what I
That was what the case was
understand
over.
Sam
The case wasn't over him shooting somebody to protect property. The case was over shooting somebody in
crazy.
self-defense. That's what the court case was over. Does he even know the details of anything that happened? Not even the details. Does he even know what it was about?
Or let me put it this way, so that it's not crossing any boundaries. The idea that I would be cheerleading somebody who grabbed a weapon to protect property
Who's cheerleading? Oh, okay. He's being a little bit more careful now.
from protesters, and then was just sort of meandering around enough that he somehow got himself into multiple conflicts where he ended up shooting multiple people to death.
It was one conflict. What do you mean multiple conflicts?
Yeah, this is really weird. I don't know.
Regardless of
like,
what how many, whatever the violations these people had done.
if you, like, to see this kind of stuff, you have to think about like, can someone recount an event correctly? And I think it's a huge thing where if someone can't recount an event correctly, or at least use kind of moderate language, and I think it's really important. Like, how do you go over an event with some kind of moderate language? You can be extreme. You can be like, wow, he went and murdered everybody and blasted away and, was out hunting and stuff like that. It's like, well, can you pull the language back a little bit? And that's where, like, I've seen Sam Seder a few times, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's somebody who I'll watch a little bit of, but since I've seen this, since I've seen the takes in the Rittenhouse case, I don't trust him at all. Like, this is so disingenuous. It's unbelievably disingenuous. But he believes it, it seems. He, like, really, really believes it, but I don't know why or how.
Whatever the moral turpitude of his victims were, which also seems like, I don't know how you balance the idea of, like, self-defense with, I could divine what bad things they had done in their lives before, and that's why I had to kill them. But nevertheless, the idea that I would, that my assessment of that situation would turn on the color of one's skin, and that's the only context in which I would judge these things from, was spurious in and of itself.
Yeah.
The idea that I would express this by imbibing significant amounts of someone's sexual releases.
Okay. I don't think I have any desire to talk to Sam Seder or anything. Okay. I'm good.